Hi, this is Ellen. So I don't have much by way of general updates this week. Been in a lot of meetings, recovering from Boxworks. So rather than doing general updates, I figured I would talk about a topic where a couple people have reached out to me and we've had discussions about, and that's about career management. How do I get to the next level? What do I have to focus on, and things of that nature. Okay, so for an overview, we'll talk about the table stakes. What's the necessary conditions for you to even start to think about how you want to develop in your career, how to take control of your own career development, how to manage the opportunities that you would need to take advantage of to develop your career, how to determine whether those opportunities are real or not, and how to maximize your impact. Okay, so first let's talk about table stakes. So in my experience, these are the necessary conditions for which you need to take care of if you want to progress in career. Doing these things doesn't guarantee you your next promotion, but not doing them will more than likely prevent you from moving forward. So first and foremost, you have to have a willingness to invest more. So if you're concerned about your current career progress and you think you should be moving faster, then what's probably true is that you're not happy with the current rate of progression, right? And so your status quo today is not sufficient for you to progress at the rate that you want to progress. And what that means is that status quo is not going to work for you. You have to put in more effort. It doesn't necessarily mean put in more hours, but it does mean investing more than you currently are investing. So whether that is putting more hours or more focused effort, or reducing the distractions while you're at work, or any of those examples, the point here is that you're going to have to invest more focused energy and effort to change the rate of progress. Precondition number two, you have to nail your day job. So, regardless of how you wish to progress, you currently have a day job. You have things that you are currently responsible for, and you're going to have to nail that day job. Not just do the minimum sufficient, not just get by, but beat expectations on those responsibilities. It's hard to be impressed with the extra effort and work you do on the side if your own house is not in order. Okay, so next section, I'm going to talk a little bit about a mentality shift. So, taking control, being more proactive over your own career development. A common concern that people have when I talk to them about career is, they feel that maybe they don't have the opportunity to progress. They don't have the opportunity to expand themselves, work on more challenging projects. Maybe their own job is not visible or not challenging, or low profile, and they feel like if they were only given a chance, they could really prove what they can do. While that may or may not be true, it's much better to take opportunity discovery into your own hands than wait for somebody else to give that to you. And the reason is, you might have an awesome manager, and your manager might take care of you and be very aware of your development areas, and be very responsive to you. But no matter how awesome your manager is, the fact is your manager has a day job. He or she has their own set of responsibilities that they need to be accountable for. Your manager has other reports that he or she needs to attend to. You're not the only one that your manager has to watch out for. Your manager further may not have the visibility that you do. You may see opportunities, or pain points or problems to solve with your level of detail, and your proximity to the problem that your manager may simply not have. And furthermore, even if your current manager is great, your next manager may not be so great. People change, people move around, and if your career development is dependent on having an awesome manager, what are the chances that you'll have an awesome manager throughout your entire career? So, for these reasons, it's better to see your manager as a contributor to opportunities for you to develop. But as far as who is ultimately responsible and accountable for finding those opportunities, you need to take control of that into your own hands. So, what exactly is an opportunity to develop your career? Is it accomplishing some task that you're interested in, some technology, some process, some initiative that you're personally interested in? Is it just putting in the efforts without actually having clear results? Is it results that you think are interesting but don't ultimately matter to the company? And the answer to these are pretty obvious, right? What counts in terms of an opportunity is the effort you make that results in positive impact to the company, right? Putting in effort is not enough. Working on something you're personally interested in is not enough. Um, what is the outcome? What is the impact of that effort that actually benefits the company? And when we talk about positive impact and company, we can go into a little bit more detail, right? Positive impact you can measure in terms of increased revenue or cost reduction or improved productivity or improvement of the quality, reliability, performance, etc. of your product or system, better decision making. These are all positive impacts that you can make. And as far as company is concerned, you can slice it at different granularities, right? There are certainly company KPIs that if you were able to make an impact on, you're going to get a lot of recognition. But you can also positively impact your manager, your team, adjacent teams, your organization or adjacent organizations, right? So the way to look at an opportunity is, what is the impact of that opportunity and who does it benefit? So with that definition, let's take a look at the landscape of the opportunity. So here I have kind of a graph that I just drew up. It's not scientific, but it reflects my own experience. So on the x-axis, I have control and influence. So each of these circle represents an opportunity. The opportunities on the left are opportunities that you can actually directly do something about, whereas the opportunities on the right side are opportunities that where you may not have direct control, but you may need to work with other people, influence people that may or may not report to you, that may be at various distances away from you in terms of the organizational hierarchy or function that you need to work with to actually have an impact. And then the y-axis is just a measure of how impactful that particular opportunity is, right? So with these definitions, I'm going to go through a couple of examples. So let's look at something with where you have a lot of control, but has relatively low impact. So maybe you're interested in switching your editor from Emacs to Vim, and I know people will fight me on this, but at the end of the day, the fact that you're switching from one editor to other, no matter how passionate you are about it, it's not really going to make that much of a difference, right? So this is one area where you can spend time and effort, but your impact is low, even though you have full control over what you want to do here. To take an even more extreme example, let's say that you want to learn to play the guitar. No one's going to say don't learn to play the guitar. No one's going to say don't waste time on the guitar. I mean, learning to play the guitar is awesome, but it really isn't an argument to get your next promotion. So let's take a look at another example. So maybe you're very opinionated about how status reports should be done, and you have an idea of how everybody in the company should write status reports. And this is something that you obviously cannot do on your own. You need to involve a lot of people. But unfortunately, I don't think a lot of people will fight me on this. Such an initiative will probably have very low impact for the amount of work that it would involve, right? So you clearly don't want to work on opportunities in this area. Here's another example. So maybe something that's within your control and has a decent impact might be maybe you want to learn iOS, right? So you're currently a web developer or an Android developer, and you want to expand your skill set and spend some time on your own to learn iOS so that you can actually contribute to the efforts there. And that's reasonably high impact. It's well within your control, and you can certainly spend a lot of time there to your benefit and to the company's benefit. And finally, let's look at an initiative like changing the company cloud strategy for the better, right? So this is one where you can't do on your own. You would definitely need a lot of influence and to work with a lot of people to get this change done. But this is one that could potentially leverage huge economies of scales. You can have a lot of savings, right? So the opportunities on the upper right will really help the company and really move your profile in the company. Okay, so to generalize, Don't spend time on the areas of low impact, whether you're under your direct control or influence. You only have so much time in a day, and if you're going to spend time, spend it on opportunities where you can actually have more of an impact. Especially don't spend time on the areas of low impact where you would actually need to involve a lot of people, because this sucks up not only your time, but it sucks up the time that of the people you want to involve, right? So clearly, be very careful about tackling opportunities that require a lot of involvement that don't really benefit a lot of people, right? As you're thinking through your career, a good starting point often is are the areas where there is high impact, that are directly under your control. And these are what you would consider low hanging fruit opportunities that you would spend your time on to kind of build out your reputation and your influence. And over time, as you gain more influence and gain more expertise, maybe you can start to pursue some of the opportunities in the upper right hand side. Right. So let's put another lens around this. So here's where I'm carving out the green line, which is what I would call your sphere of control, and the yellow line, which I would call your sphere of influence, right? So the sphere of control is basically the threshold at which where you can directly address opportunities. These are things where you have the capability to solve directly, given that you have the time, and to extent that there are high impact opportunities. That's where you can spend some of your time on. For the opportunities beyond your sphere of control but within your sphere of influence, these are opportunities where you would need to leverage your relationships with your peers and your coworkers, to actually make a dent. Chances are there are opportunities that are higher impact in this area, but you do need to work a little bit harder and work with people to solve these issues. And then beyond your sphere of influence are the opportunities that you probably don't have leverage to tackle just yet. And as great as those opportunities are, as much of a difference that it could make, if they're beyond your sphere of influence, then you're probably better off at focusing your time and energy in tackling the opportunities within your spheres of control or influence, or to expand your spheres so that you can tackle those higher opportunities, right? So, for example, if you're coming in on day one as a junior engineer, you're not going to change the company's strategy, no matter how awesome you think AWS is, right? So it's better for you to kind of spend your time here working on high impact things, and then expand your influence over time. And with respect to expanding your influence over time, there are different strategies you need to consider. To expand your sphere of control, that's just a matter of personal development, gaining domain expertise, and just gaining more experience through your normal work, and that should grow over time. But with respect to expanding your sphere of influence, that requires a different set of effort. You need to build relationships. You need some collaboration wins. You need to build out your reputation for having high impact. Each of these topics, whether personal development or increasing your sphere of influence, are topics that we can spend much more time on. And I would be happy to share my perspectives on those topics if there's interest. But the point here is to pursue the opportunities that are within your realm of control and influence, and try to expand your spheres of control and influence so that you can tackle even higher impactful opportunities going forward. Okay, so next topic, discerning opportunities. Um, Everything we talked about before was on the assumption that you actually had an accurate assessment of those opportunities. Um, but you may be wrong. Maybe those opportunities aren't real opportunities. Maybe you'll be spending a lot of time, working on something that doesn't ultimately have a large impact, right? So so your time is precious. You have a day job, so you only have a very limited amount of capacity to invest in taking advantage of these opportunities. So you really need to be careful about whether these opportunities are real or not. The reasons why you're probably wrong may have very little to do with your intelligence or your expertise. Chances are you probably have a partial picture. Whatever great idea you have, whatever pain point you see, it's probably a partial view of what's actually there. Um, It might be that your idea has been tried before but has failed for reasons unknown to you. Maybe it is a problem, but maybe it's not a pressing problem, or maybe it's not the right time to solve this problem. Maybe there are other fires that your team needs to fight or your manager needs to fight. And it might also be much harder to implement than you expect or realize, right? So the point here is that discovering a new opportunity or having an idea may be very exciting. You might be dreaming about how impactful addressing that opportunity may be, but you really need to make sure that it's a real opportunity. So some things you can do about it is, number one, assume that you only have a partial picture. Don't assume that you have the complete truth right off the bat. Double check. You can also talk to people to validate the problem and ideas, right? The more input you have from more people, it should help uncover a lot of the blind spots you might have with your initial idea, right? You should try to understand the historical context behind the problem and opportunity. Who's tried to solve this before? What kind of obstacles did they run into? How did they fail? How do you make sure that you won't fail with your solution? And finally, if after talking to a bunch of people and the idea doesn't resonate, the problem doesn't resonate, maybe it doesn't feel urgent, maybe it's time for you to move on. Once you start applying yourself to looking for opportunities to make an impact, there will be no shortage of them, right? And the question isn't whether or not you can do something that will benefit the company, your team, or your manager. The problem really is, which one of those opportunities should you spend time on that will have the most impact. So if one doesn't resonate after talking to people and doing a little bit of due diligence, move to the next one, which might have a better chance of making an impact. Okay, and finally, let's talk about maximizing your impact. So, like I said before, there could be a lot of opportunities once you start applying yourself, talking to people, and learning, likely more than you have time for, right? And for each of these opportunities, you really need to do an assessment, across multiple dimensions. So number one is obviously how impactful is this opportunity, right? You want to work on the high impact ones, but you also want to consider the risk. It might be a big pain point. It might benefit a lot of people if you can solve this, but maybe it's really hard to solve. Maybe there's a high degree of technical risk or complexity to do it. So, time spent working on this opportunity may or may not pay off, and that's something you need to factor in. Of course, the amount of effort and the amount of time, right? If you're gonna work on something that has high impact but might take you multiple years to accomplish, maybe that's too long compared to other opportunities. How much leverage do you need? How much influence do you need to accomplish this, right? If this is something that you can take care of on your own, great. It's high impact. You can take care of your own to the benefit of others. That's something that should be at the top of your list. But if it requires a small group of people, do you have the relationships necessary to leverage those people for help? Or does it require a larger body of people than you have influence over? In which case, maybe it's not a good use of your time. And finally, how confident are you that if you were to solve this problem, this opportunity, it will actually make an impact, right? So, taking all of these things into account, and probably some others that I didn't mention, you will need to come up with a small set of things that you can spend your time on. So when it comes time to deciding, which opportunities to pursue, it's not enough to just, take a look at the potential impact and just sum it up. You're going to have to estimate the set of opportunities to spend time on, which will materialize in actual impact. And the actual impact may not be the same as your estimated impact, right? So you're going to want to be smart about this, right? Think of it as similar to investing in your retirement portfolio. You don't want to put all of your effort in high impact but high risk opportunities, right? You might want a mix of things that where you're very confident in, that can make some impact, and maybe a small amount that could have high potential impact, but don't derail you should it fail for whatever reason. Okay, and then on to some tips on maximizing impact. So these are some tips in no particular order that hopefully you find helpful. As I said before, your time and energy is precious. You have to be very careful in which opportunities you choose. Don't try to do more than you have a reasonable confidence in. Once you decide on these opportunities, apply focus effort and maximize their success. Don't jump from idea to idea, opportunity to opportunity. It's better for you to spend time on a few that you can actually make progress on than a bunch that you can't. Right. Um, uh, as I alluded to before, don't put all of your eggs in one basket. So don't just pursue the opportunities that have high impact but have high risk, because if you only have so much time, and if they fail, then you might not end up with anything to show for it. I would recommend starting with achievable wins. So start with the ones you have high confidence in, which you can use to expand your sphere of control and influence, build your reputation, then leverage your expanded spheres for even higher impact opportunities. Right. And finally, and this is really key, influence is probably the most important thing for you in your career, right? Never neglect building influence, because the most impactful things that you can do will more than likely require multiple people to accomplish, right? So this is going to be a career-long thing. Never neglect this, right? And as far as how to do this, that's it's a pretty meaty topic. Books have been written on this, but some tips that have worked for me include, just treat people well. Care about their concerns, care about their problems, and be empathetic. Right? Respect people, respect your colleagues. Try to help where you can. If you can help directly, help directly. If you can leverage your sphere of influence to help them, then you can do that. Every time you help somebody, you strengthen that relationship. When it comes time where you need their help to solve some problem, there's a greater chance that you can leverage that relationship. And finally, it goes without saying, don't be an asshole. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. I know this is very high level, but hopefully it provides a framework on how to think about proactively managing your career. To summarize, be sure you nail your day job. You're going to need to put in extra effort if you're not happy with your current rate of progress, right? If you're not happy with status quo, then you're going to have to inject more energy to break out of status quo. Career development opportunities are primarily your responsibility. It's great if you have a manager, it's great if you have a mentor that can help you identify opportunities, but ultimately you need to be in the driver's seat. You need to take an active role in finding the right opportunities to progress in your career. Be sure you choose the right opportunities. There will be more things that you can do than you have time for, not to mention your day job. So with the limited time you have, it's very important that you choose the opportunities that have the highest amount of impact. Be sure that you're not too quick to drink your own Kool-Aid. An idea to solve a problem is very exciting. An idea to solve a problem, particularly one that is very impactful, is very exciting. But chances are, if you've thought of it, other people have thought of it as well. And the fact that the problem isn't solved probably means that there is something that you need to learn. All right. So talk to people and do your due diligence and make sure that the opportunities you pursue are real. And finally, have a plan. Career development is a career-long thing. It's not a one and done deal. Being able to identify opportunities, spending focused effort in addressing the right opportunities and solving the right problems is going to help you throughout your career, right? So it's important for you to take it one step at a time, and have successes along the way, and have a little bit of patience and keep at it, and have faith that it's going to pay off over time. Okay, so that about covers it. Thank you very much. Again, I'm happy to hear feedback. If this was interesting to you, or if you would like me to dive deeper into any aspect, let me know. I'm happy to go into it more if there's interest.